Hi guys, welcome back to another exciting video, so sit back, relax, and let's get started. Monsters, that's what they were. Running around in Japan killing people left and right. Many civilians didn't dare leave their homes and still stood the risk to get killed. The pro-heroes had done everything they could, but not a single quirk worked against them. Blasted by Endeavor's fire. Well, maybe they felt a slight tickle. Even after being cut with a sword or crushed to pulp, they somehow always healed. They weren't that many and most didn't kill, but it still scared many people. After weeks of these creatures roaming Japan with no way to defeat them, it came as a shock to see one get killed. The video was blurry and taken at night, but the person looked to be a boy with short pink hair wearing dark blue clothes. He ran full speed ahead, and right before hitting the monster, his hand burst into blue flames. After being hit, the monster turned to ash. The video went viral overnight. People were cheering. But with it also came a lot of questions. Who was the boy? Why could the boy kill it but not the pro-heroes, and where was he now? Nezu sat in his office with a puzzled look on his face. The school had faced much backlash after the USJ incident and kidnapping of Bakugo. After the decision to keep the school open with the monsters walking in the halls, it got even worse. The mysterious boy from the video intrigued Nezu. If he was found and then killed all the monsters around school, the students would start feeling safer. The problem? No one knew anything other than a short video of the boy. He was very smart, but with such little information it became very hard to find the boy. A knock on the door pulls him out of his thoughts. "Come in," said Nezu. Of course he already knew who it was. Aizawa Shouta walked in. Eye bags bigger than normal. "Just the person I wanted to see. What do you need for you to call me so urgently?" "I know you have a lot on your plate, but I need you to look into this boy," he said while giggling. Shouta sighed, from hearing that he already looked older. "Fine, was that all?" "Yes, you're free to go now." Nezu smiled at him. "This is going to be the death of me," mumbled Shouta as he turned around to walk away. Aizawa was tired. Tired from hero work. Tired from teaching. Tired from his problematic class. Basically everything. To add the cherry on top, he now needed to find this mysterious boy. Before the school was over, he had one last lesson to teach. He opens the door and stood in the doorway to wait for everyone to quiet down. "That boy is so cool. He must be really strong," said Midoriya with wide eyes. "Huh, you think he's strong? I bet I'm 100 times stronger than that guy. He just got lucky killing that thing," Bakugo screamed as Kirishima held him from attacking Midoriya. "If the pro-heroes can't kill those things, then neither can you, Bakubro. I'm sorry, but it's the truth." Mina was snickering behind them while whispering to Kaminari. "Boy, what are you laughing at, Raccoon Eyes? Wanna fight?" He screamed louder than before. Aizawa would bet 3 hours of sleep that his ears would hurt if he wasn't always around present Mike and got used to loud noises. "Do you think he has a quirk similar to Todoroki's quirk? He seemed to use some type of fire." The monster did turn to ash. "Boy, I think Dun's face actually have a good point for once." Bakugo had now managed to get away from Kirishima and calm down a little bit. Kaminari's face lit up. "You really think I do?" His eyes were starting to water now. Few people got praised by Bakugo. "Don't look so happy. I think all of us were wondering that." Midoriya had started mumbling again and writing a bunch of things in his notebook. The class shared a look while waiting to see if Midoriya came up with a good idea. Finally he opens his mouth to speak. "It could be like that, but..." The creature didn't catch on fire. "Honestly, I don't fully understand it all." Everyone sighed. If Midoriya did not know, then there was no point in thinking about it now. I think everyone should sit down. "Aizawa-sensei is here," Yaorazu said, fiddling with her shirt sleeve. You could hear a pin drop the moment everyone turned to look at the door. "You know what?" He started with a long pause. "I'm not in the mood for this, so take up your textbook and go to page 456 and study. We have a pop quiz in 10 minutes. A loud range of displeased cries rang through the room. "Yuji, I screamed Gojo while bursting into the classroom. He had left his class alone, believing they would do the schoolwork he assigned. "I didn't know you were famous." "Huh, but I'm not." Gasp, "Have you hit your head, Gojo-sensei? Do we need to call in Shoko?" He started to frantically look around. "No," he said with a bored tone. "The video. You're apparently famous for killing a monster. You know, the second grade curse you killed." "Oh, that. But I didn't do much. Most of it was Fushiguro." "Hey, what do you mean with him being famous? If it's supposed to be someone, it's me." Kujisaki looked really annoyed. She would probably be extra mean the next time they train. Yuji did not look forward to that. Fushiguro sighed as he slowly shook his head. "There is a video taken on Itadori killing a curse, and the public is going crazy trying to figure out who it is." "There was." He turned to Fushiguro, who was holding up his phone. Just as he said, Itadori was in the middle of the screen kicking that curse's ass. "Hell yeah, look how cool I am." Kujisaki looked very displeased with the video. "I can't believe you would do that and not tell me. I would have done that if I knew it would be uploaded. Are you two done fighting so we can continue to consider our next decisions?" "Don't be like that, Megumi. I think it's really cool." Gojo started wiggling his eyebrows. "I hate you sometimes." Gojo just laughed at that, patting his back. "What about Yuji just laying low for a while and doing missions where few people are around?" "Okay." But all sorceress are needed. They can't just not send him to some places. It's not such a big deal, Megs. I'll fix it. Gojo turned around and started rummaging through his bag now. Who wants some candy? Mie screamed both at Itadori and Kijisaki. Gojo had managed to only give Yuji missions in low-populated areas like he said he would, but he had to admit it could get quite boring. The curses were only 3rd or 4th grade, so he always went alone. Today all 3 first years were home and stationed in the sofa. Yuji and his never-ending mission to get them to watch Human Earthworm with him had for once been a success. Yuji, I don't see what it is that you like so much about these movies, Kijisaki said while stretching out to take up as much of the sofa as possible. She had pushed him off a long time ago. Huh, it's good, have you seen? No, forget I asked, that was a mistake on my part. He looked down in defeat. He thought maybe Kijisaki was actually interested. But alas, she was not. Stuffing his mouth with more popcorn and watching the movie in silence was still okay. My dear students, sang Gojo as he burst through the door, all of you have a mission together again. They ignored him, used the teacher's antics and lies. Oh come on, are you not going to say anything? Isn't it good news? Do I have to repeat myself? Mission ... together ... all 3 of you. You said that Yuji have to lay like for a while. His face wasn't shown in the video, but it's not hard to figure out who he is if you meet him. Fushiguro looked displeased at Gojo. I know, but Yuji looked so depressed going on missions without you guys. It wouldn't be good of me as a teacher to let him be sad. Why are you always like this? He sighed. Is it a place with a big mall? I could really use a new pair of shoes. Kijisaki joined the conversation. Didn't you buy a new pair? Kijisaki put her hand over Yuji's mouth. SHH. I want him to give me his card, she whispers in his ear. Oh, now I understand. Then I really need some hoodies. You know we can hear you. You're only 2 meters away. He and Kijisaki looked up at Gojo and Fushiguro. Well shit, they did not mean to do that. What's the details of this mission? That Fushiguro is a good question. Drumroll please. You're going to Musutafu. Yes, don't they have a really big mall? Huh, Yuji, you will have to carry a lot of bags. That city is filled with pro heroes. How do you expect them not to notice Yuji? They will not find him because I believe in my students. You don't have a plan, do you? Yuji felt bad for Gojo. He may be the strongest sorcerer, but no one wanted to be at the receiving end of Fushiguro's stare. He shuddered. That stare scared him. You'll figure it out. Ops time's tight, have to go. See you in with a poof. Gojo was gone. Class 1A had decided to take a trip to the mall, determined to make this a good visit. The teachers had been reluctant to let them leave alone, so Aizawa was forced to come with them to his dismay. We should start off by visiting that store with really colorful windows, Mina squealed at the idea. All the other girls just nodded in agreement, while the guys looked unsure. Midoriya did not really feel like going, but all 20 of them had to stay close, so he convinced the rest to go as long that they chose the next store. While walking, the amount of people grew smaller. Kijisaki, why would you buy so many shoes? A person buried in shopping bags walked by. I needed more and they were on sale. Now stop complaining. We made a deal this time, a girl with a mint t-shirt and brown skirt spoke. OMG, I love your hair, Mina said as she ran up to the girl. Ooh, thanks I guess. Like your top. Maybe don't run up to people like that, Mina. Ribbit, Suyu said. Nah, it's fine, I don't mind, answers Kijisaki. The guy carrying her bags called her that? Right. Dude, are you alright? That is a lot of bags to carry. Kaminari stopped to look behind the mountain of bags. I'm okay. Just made a deal to carry everything. It's not actually heavy. He popped out his head, showing his face. Midoriya noticed he had a beanie covering his hair and what looked like scars under both eyes. Kijisaki, Itadori, we need to go. Everyone jumped at the noise. Another boy walked up, punching Itadori in the head. No one saw him in the background before he spoke. Okay. Sorry, but we gotta go. The 3 teenagers quickly speed up before anyone could say anything. Will you continue now? I don't have all day. Aizawa, who had been forgotten, spoke up. Aizawa had not managed to get a lot of sleep due to recent events, so you would know he was not happy about needing to take an extra shift on his day off. But he could do nothing about it. Today he also needed to go to the mall with his class. He wanted to deny it, but he had to admit he cared for them. So knowing they would be sad only staying at UA, he agreed to come with them. UA did not need more villain attacks on Class 1A. Right now he sat on a roof looking down upon the city, thinking about how nice sleep sounded. He remembered he'd been sitting here for quite a while. Weird. It was calm, unusually calm. By this point he should have at least stumbled upon a small street fight. He sighed. A monster was flying slightly above him. It was yellow with a small pair of wings and big teeth. You could see them almost anywhere, trying to hurt someone without success. Practically harmless, the monster suddenly started flying away, flapping its wings frantically, almost like it was scared. Aizawa was pulled out of his thoughts when he saw purple lightning in the distances. He quickly jumped to his feet and ran towards the sound. The noise of fighting became louder, stopping on a building close enough to see the commotion. 3 people were fighting a monster. It had a long body and multiple legs. He counted at least 12. It had eyes from the top of its head spiraling down, making it able to look in all directions. As it tried attacking the people, it made a snapping sound with its mouth. Aizawa wanted to jump down and help, get the people away, fight that thing, but he couldn't. Completely frozen in fear. Ugh, what was he doing just standing there? He was a pro hero for fuck's sake. Then, wait, was that pink hair? They people fighting were not just civilians. It was the guy who killed a monster. He did not know who the other were, but one thing became clear in that moment. The monster was losing to them. Aizawa could only stare in awe as the three people fought the monster. How they moved like they had done this 100 times before. The female held a hammer and her nails got engulfed in blue flames as they floated in front of her. She then swung her hammer down on the nails and sent them flying toward the monster. It disappointed him that the nails did not hit, instead landing at the monster's feet. The girl snapped her finger and boom, an explosion caused by her nails sending the monster off balance. This seemed to have given the black-haired boy an opening as he started running, doing something with his hands, making a big black wolf emerge from his shadow. The wolf continued to run and bit down on one of the monster's legs. It let out a screech of pain, shaking its leg trying to get the wolf off. It eventually let go to regroup with its owner, leaving the monster to angrily follow it. In this situation, most pro-heroes would have ran after saving the civilians. But these people kept fighting, even with the monster trying to kill them. He was impressed by the bravery. The wolf ran towards the monster again to rip of a leg. Black-haired boy started running, sword in hand. He dove down under the monster and plunged his sword into its tummy, never to stop running and creating a big wound on its underside in the process. The monster, now more enraged, managed to land a hit that sent the boy through a building. Aizawa lost sight of him. He realized that these people maybe didn't have the situation under control. His friends continued fighting, not sharing a single glance towards their friend. The pink-haired boy from the video ran up, wielding yet another flaming fist. He threw punch after punch, not letting the monster hit him. He continued until his fist started flaming black with hint of red. The punch threw it back onto its side, a hole where the punch hit. Hammer Girl sent some exploding nails, finally finishing the monster off, turning it to ash. The black-haired boy came stumbling back to his friends. Aizawa could not see how hurt they were, but took this opportunity to talk to them. He jumped down, landing behind them. After looking at them like this, he recognized them. But from where? Hey, you that homeless-looking man from the mall, right? The pink-haired boy had noticed him. If he recognized Aizawa, they must have met before. He mentioned the mall, so it must have been today. Then it hit him. His class were talking to some kids their age earlier today. You shouldn't talk to him, Itadori. He looks like a sketchy guy, the girl said. You killed it. How? You mean the curse? The pink-haired boy walked forward to inspect him, tilting his head to the side. Curse? Itadori, he doesn't know what a curse is. Also, we need to go. The black-haired boy turned around and started walking away. You're hurt. I can call an ambulance for you. Aizawa had noticed that all three of them were more hurt than he originally thought, to the point that medical attention was definitely needed. No thanks, we have better things to do. And Itadori, come here right now. We can't let Fushiguro come back first and take all the credit. This wasn't good. If he let them go, there might never be a chance to learn how to get rid of the monster. In a split-second decision, he sent out his capture scarf and wrapped it around the pink-haired boy. Hey, I didn't do anything. Why, take me. He started wriggling in the scarf and just ripped it off. How was this kid so strong? No one had managed to break his capture scarf before. Told you he was sketchy. Aizawa decided to try taking the other boy by jumping over the others. He was the most hurt, therefore had a smaller chance to escape, giving him time to ask more questions. His friend got ready to help him but stopped when he shook his head. I ask of you once again, how do you kill those monsters? Even if we told you, it wouldn't help. And what do you mean by that? If I told you how, you would still not be able to kill it. Now let me go. I gave you an answer. Aizawa knew he was getting desperate when he started playing dirty with what he was about to say. Okay, but I still need to arrest you for illegal quirk usage. They stared at him like his class did their first day of school, just without speaking. We tried to help you and now you're arresting us. The girl was fuming. Fujisaki, it's no point. Just follow him and we can call Gojo-sensei later and ask about what to do. At least they were not trying to fight back. Now he just hoped they would comply during the interrogation. To say that Fujisaki was mad was an understatement. First she had to go on a mission. Then she was arrested for illegal quirk usage when she didn't even have a quirk. So now she sat in the back of a police car between Itadori and Fushiguro because they apparently needed more space. After being forced to be looked over by a doctor, she was definitely going to try to max out Gojo's card when she got out. She would never succeed. Gojo is too rich, but it could never hurt to try. She got a bunch of stuff doing so anyway. As the car pulled up to a stop, she saw that the sun was already starting to go up. She had now been kept awake for much longer than she wanted, with now sleep in sight. Another thing to add to the list about why she was mad. Please follow me this way, a police officer who looked quite young said. They walked into the building. Not many people were working yet, but those who were was giving them weird glances. Down the corridor was many metal doors and a few plants. It was like they were some high seasons criminals walking to be interrogated. Well, an interrogation would probably happen, but still, these security measures were not needed. Fushiguro was led into a room first, then Itadori, and last Kijisaki. Being separated was not fun. Sure, the boys were annoying, but at least she knew them. It felt like housers sitting at that table before what looked like a detective walked in. "Hello, I'm Detective Naomasa Tsukashi and I'm going to talk to you today." When Aizawa had called Tsukachi about finding people who could kill a monster, he had felt a bit of hope. Maybe the civilians don't have to be scared anymore. But he did not expect to be met by 3 teenagers. He did not like what he was about to do. Arresting teenagers for illegal quirk usage was a bit extreme. For most circumstances, most kids usually got off by being chewed out by the police and a call to their parents. But this wasn't a normal circumstance. These kids had information that heroes definitely needed, teenagers or not. If they had information, Tsukachi was going to get it. So if playing dirty now to help who know how many people, then it was with it. He opened the door to the first teenager. A black-haired boy sat on the chair. Tsukachi sat down opposite to him. Aizawa had been allowed to come into the interrogation room and now stood in the corner, not wanting to be in the way. "Hi, I'm Detective Naomasa Tsukachi and will be asking you some questions. I have a lie detector quirk, so I will know if you are lying." The boy looked at him and squinted like he was trying to find something suspicious about Tsukachi. Okay, he only gave a short answer with a stern tone. "What's your name and age?" "Megumi Fushiguro. 15 years old." True. The kid is at least not hiding who he is. "What's your quirk?" Fushiguro moved in his seat like trying to determine if he should reveal it. After a pause, he spoke again. "I don't have a quirk." "True. How is that possible?" Tsukachi was sure Aizawa had said something about the kids having quirks. Right as he thought that, Aizawa spoke up. "I saw you and your friends use your quirk. Don't lie. Tsukachi will know if you do." Aizawa looked at him with a raised eyebrow. It was like he was asking him to speak. "What he's saying is ... true. It's the reason why arresting us for illegal quirk usage is weird, considering none of us have quirks." Fushiguro, now seemingly more annoyed than before, just stated. "None of you have quirks?" Aizawa did not look convinced. "Yes, now let us go. Can we just ask you a few more questions? We still don't know how true your statement is." "My quirk is not foolproof." It was true. Tsukachi's quirk was good, but there were exceptions. "How exactly did you kill that monster?" "Can't tell you. Like I said before, even if you knew, you still can't kill them." "True." Tsukachi really hoped that's not the case. If there was no way for pro heroes to kill those things, he did not know what would happen. "You and your friends called them curses. Is that what they are?" "Yes." "True." Neither one of the adults got any more information out of the boy, so they move on. After introducing himself to the pink-haired boy, he started asking questions again. "What's your name and age?" "Yuji Itadori, 15 years old, and I'm into girls like Jennifer Lawrence." "True. Didn't she live like 200 years ago?" Aizawa looked skeptical, but Tsukachi himself was impressed. He would have never known that information. Pre-quirk history was not his specialty. "I know, but the old stuff is so much better than ours. Have you seen Human Ertwa?" "Let's just continue now, shall we?" he interrupted. This was going to be a long day. "What's your quirk?" "I don't have a quirk, sir." "True. But once again, how these kids killed those monsters? A thing not even pro heroes can do. What makes them so special? Do the kids have quirks that they themselves don't know even about?" But tricking 3 kids into thinking they don't have quirks seems really hard. "I can show you." Itadori proceeded to taking one of his shoes and sock off and wiggling his toes. "Look, I have 2 joints in my pinky toe." He was smiling. This situation was weird, and Aizawa's shocked expression was proof of that. "Okay, how do you kill the monsters?" "Well, I'm quite new to all this sorcery stuff, so I don't really know. Your best option is to ask Fushiguro." He sheepishly looked at them. "Sorcery? Is that some kind of joke?" Did he really think that was real? But Tsukachi took what he got. That's at least was more information than the other kid. "Okay, so what's this sorcery you mentioned?" "Well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. And I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to tell you." Itadori was looking anywhere but on the 2 other people in the room. "Kid, by this point I've seen enough that I'm starting to think I would believe anything people told me. No matter how weird it may sound." Aizawa, still standing in the corner, spoke. Honestly, Tsukachi felt the same. "I'm technically not allowed to tell you either. Wouldn't want the higher-ups to change their decision now." That was even more suspicious. "And who are these higher-ups?" Aizawa sounded slightly worried, but Tsukachi understood. Even though Aizawa acted like he did not like kids, it was far from the truth. So for him to be seeing these kids that apparently weren't allowed to speak up probably worried him. "I don't really know that. Never met them. You know, I just do what they say," he said while shrugging. That's when Tsukachi decided he was done. They could come back later if more questioning was needed. After moving on and once again introducing himself, now to the only female of the group, he immediately asked for her name and age. "Nobara Kijisaki, 16 years old." "True." From what he gathered, she didn't have a quirk, but he asked anyway. "So what's your quirk?" "I don't have one and I don't need one. I'm too good anyway," she said while leaning back in the chair. Fujisaki seemed more relaxed than the others, but also more mad. Can you tell us about those monsters? Nope, she popped the P. I'm not allowed to. Why were these kids not allowed to say anything? Was these higher-ups threatening them into not telling the police? Are you sure there is nothing you can tell us? You know that under the law you must tell the police if you have valuable information that might help an ongoing investigation. I don't care if I'm obliged to tell you by law. Go speak with your homeless-looking buddy in the corner if you wish to speak to someone. Aizawa sighed at her comment. Your friend mentioned something about sorceress. What is that? Was it Itadori that told you? Why am I even asking? Of course it was him. He speaks a lot. But I still can't tell you. She rolled her eyes at them. Aizawa signaled to him to walk out to speak more privately. So he got up and left. Aizawa walked out first. He had already given up on getting an answer from those kids. So, you got any ideas? Tsukachi asked, already looking a bit more tired than he did the day before. I think there are better ways to do this. We are clearly not getting anywhere closer to an answer. Then what are you suggesting we do? What about trying to find more information on them elsewhere? There may be something useful in the database. We still need to see if the information we got is correct. Aizawa was already sure that they were telling the truth, not only because of Tsukachi's quirk but also because the way they acted seemed truthful. Except for the quirk part, of course. Fine, but what are we supposed to do with them while we wait? We will soon have to let them out. Tsukachi still looked really unsure. He probably didn't believe there was any more they could do. One of the officers came up to them as they were talking. She had tan skin and what looked to be some type of water quirk because of her hair that looked like floating water on her head. Tsukachi, I have the file you asked for. You weren't at your desk, so I came to you directly. Tsukachi gave a quick nod in appreciation before taking the file. The officer turned around and walked down the same way she came from. Let's sit down. They sat down in the waiting area of the interrogation rooms. On the table beside him was a pink candle and a little plant. Aizawa picked up the file of Fushiguro. Looking it through, there were no lies. His name, age, and even quirk status was true to what he said. It said he was quirkless. Aizawa, on the other hand, did not believe that for a second. He saw what they could do. The only guardian listed on his file was a man with the name Satoru Gojo. It seemed like the man had adopted Fushiguro when he was 7. After not finding anything more, he decided to pick up Itadori's file. In the beginning, everything seemed normal until he came to his guardian. The person listed was an old man who had passed away several months ago. Tsukachi, can we go get some more information on Itadori? Yes, I just need to go to my computer. They quickly went and searched up Itadori's name. It seemed that he had switched to some new religious school in the outskirts of Tokyo shortly after his guardian, who was also his grandfather, had passed away. It seems weird that he suddenly switched school. That's something you should look into, Aizawa said, looking away. He could not help him tomorrow because he had things to teach and had already had to leave them today. Did you find anything on Fujisaki? Sadly, no. Everything was correct compared to what she said. Are you sure they really had quirks? Tsukachi asked suspiciously while also looking ready to pass out. Then and there, out of exhaustion. I'm sure I saw them use quirks, he sighed. Even if they did use quirks, we have no more evidence to keep them here. I can gather more information, but we have to let them go for now. We can at least call their parent before then. I guess. Can you do it and I stay here? Aizawa only nodded his in response before walking away to a more secluded area where he wouldn't be interrupted. He called the first guy, who was Fushiguro's guardian. The phone rang multiple times, and just as he was about to give up, someone answers. Hello, the one and only Satoru Gojo here. A cherry voice rang out. I know you must have called me because I'm so amazing, but I can't talk to you for long. Hi, this is Pro Hero Eraserhead. I called, he said before he was interrupted. A pro hero, you say? Then I think you have the wrong number. I am certain I have the right number. I came to talk about. No. I have done nothing wrong. Because how could I? I am the best, so you can go do something else. Aizawa was annoyed. How could a man be so full of himself? I came to talk about Fushi. He stopped when the bleeping sound came on. The man had hung up on him. Ugh. Aizawa felt 100 years older after just that one call, and that's not counting the years he already gained talking to those kids. Not to be deterred, he called Fujisaki's guardian. Hello, a raspy voice answered. The person seemed annoyed at the sudden call. Hi, I'm Pro Hero Eraserhead, and I called to talk about Nobara Fujisaki. What has she done now? Why is she always in so much trouble? She sighed. Whatever she's done, I don't care. I wanted to ask if you could come to the station and talk to us and maybe get her home if needed. Meh, I don't feel like it. Let her walk home for all I care. Ma'am, I cannot do that. I need to go now. Have to take cookies out of the oven. Bye. Aizawa now felt like sleeping until next year. Because what was it with parents who don't care about their kids? Defeated, Aizawa slowly made his way back to Tsukachi. Find anything yet? He asked. No, only that they all seem to live at the same school. Did you find anything? He said, looking up at him. No, one did not even listen to what I had to say, and the other told me to do whatever. He leaned on the desk. It was messy with papers scattered all around and some sticky notes with encouraging words stuck on the computer screen. They were all written in different ways, so it was probably his coworkers who felt bad for all the work he did. I've given this situation some thought, and we can legally not let Itadori go as he don't have a guardian. The others would probably not want to leave him, and their guardians did not seem to care when we called them. Tsukachi put his elbows on the desk and his head on his hands. Aizawa was starting to understand where Tsukachi was going with this. He still felt as if it was wrong, but at the same time they did not have many other options. Are you suggesting we keep them somewhere safe trying to get information while saying it's because of Itadori's guardian? Yes, I know it's wrong, but we can try to sort this out quickly. What we're doing is better than what the HPSC would do. Tsukachi had a point. The HPSC would do a lot worse if they find the kids. Most people thought the Hero Commission was good, but Aizawa held strong suspicion against them. He had found that they were not as innocent as they seemed. I can ask Nezu if we can keep them there. He should agree, considering he asked me to look for the pink-haired kid. That's great. I'll get someone to drive you there. No, it's fine. I can ask Hisashi for help. Aizawa then felt his phone ringing in his pocket. It confused him. He knew he had it turned off at the moment, but as he looked at the caller name, everything made sense. Nezu, the mouse bear thing who was smarter than the average human. Aizawa guessed he must have hacked his phone somehow. Hello Aizawa, I had a feeling you would be calling me soon, so I decided to call you first to save time. Nezu acted like what he did was not weird at all, and even though it would freak most people out, he was lucky Aizawa wasn't like most people. Yes, I wanted to ask if some kids could stay at the school. It's the pink-haired kid and his friends. So you found him. That's great, I knew I could count on you. Nezu was now giggling like a madman, probably scheming about the way he could exploit them. You can let them stay with your class in the dorm, and now Nezu had made Aizawa's life worse. But he could understand his decision, as the kids should or be no to people outside the school. You don't need to bring the kids to me today, wouldn't want to scare them right away. But I want to see them tomorrow. And before I forget, I already asked Hisashi to come get you, so you don't need to call him. He will be there in 5 minutes. Without saying goodbye, Nezu hung up. Nezu have already fixed things, so we should get the kid ready to leave. Okay, I'll get someone to escort them outside. Oh, and before you leave, good luck. I will see what more I can find. Aizawa only nodded in response before leaving. It was nice getting outside and feel the wind. After being cooped up inside for hours, I could get really warm. He also realized that it was much later than he expected, and the street lamps were already on. A hideous bright yellow car rolled in on the parking lot, and a man with similarly bright clothes hopped out. The man had his hair tied up in a bun. He no longer had his hero outfit, but the sunglasses always stayed on. Aizawa, Nezu said you needed some help, so I came immediately. Are you going to adopt more kids? He said loudly, and Aizawa felt his eardrums were about to burst from the sudden loud voice. No, just working on a case involving those monsters. Wait, you mean you actually found something useful? That's great, he beamed while Aizawa was slowly backing away from him. What did you find that would need me to come get you? We found some kids that can kill the monsters, but we have not yet got them to speak. So you did adopt more kids? I did not. They are just staying at UA for a while, and I have not adopted any kids. Oh, come on. You have basically adopted your whole class already. Everyone knows that except for you. Aizawa had no time to argue back as an officer came out with the 3 kids. Kyujisaki was looking at them like she wanted to kill them. Itadori was gleefully looking around while Fushiguro looked completely emotionless. They quietly sat down in the back of the car while Aizawa sat down in the passenger seat. He was content with the silence, but Hisashi, who was never quiet, started talking. So, what do you kids do on your free time? We watch movies, Itadori answers. The other 2 stayed quiet. What do you usually watch? Personally, I really like Human Earthworm, he continued rambling on, but Aizawa stopped listening and just looked out the car window until they came to UA. Wait, is that UA? Kyujisaki said while looking flabbergasted, mouth wide open. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Hisashi was giving them a big smile. Kyujisaki looked at him in disgust. No, UA seemed like a really trashy school. Like, who even decides that the building should be an H shape? They have no taste. She crossed her arms over her chest while the other 2 just nodded. That was definitely not the reaction Aizawa had expected. Most people could only dream about stepping foot on UA ground, while these kids got to do it while talking trash about it. It's really not that bad, Hisashi said while trying to fix the mood. Let's just go. I'll show you where you will sleep. Can we get our phones now? Fushiguro asked. If looks could kill, Aizawa would have already been dead long ago. You'll get them when we think it's safe, Aizawa answered while walking past them, leaving no room to argue. Midoriya had a weird feeling. It first started when Aizawa didn't show up to class that morning. Yamada-sensei had taken his shift and said he would be back tomorrow and not to worry. That did still not stop Midoriya from overthinking things. What could Aizawa be doing that required him to leave? Maybe it was. Midoriya, are you there? Uraraka was waving her hand in form of his face. Are you thinking about Aizawa again? Yeah, but why wasn't he here? He sighed. He's a pro hero, so it's probably that. Just because he's a teacher doesn't mean he can just leave his other work to come teach us, she said while smiling at him. Midoriya just nodded. It was getting late and everyone needed to go to sleep. Still, almost the whole class sat in the living room. It had been a movie night even though they had school tomorrow. The sound of the front door pulled him out of his thought once again. When he looked to see who it was, he saw Aizawa. He seemed very tired. "Can you gather everyone, Ida? I need to say something." "Yes, it's my duty as the class president, Aizawa-sensei," he said while waving his arms around as usual before running around. Everyone gathers in the living room, filling up the sofas, with some students sitting on the floor. "Right, earlier today I found 3 kids that we took to the station for questioning. Later, while looking through their files, we saw that one of them did not have a guardian. Because of that and a few other reasons, we have decided to temporarily place them at UA. They will be living with this class, so I came to inform you about it. It is also important that you don't tell anyone else about them. Understand?" Everyone just nodded while trying to take in the information. Does this mean they are getting new classmates? But why would someone who does not have a guardian be at UA? It is definitely not serious enough to warrant that response. So what made these kids special? Why would they need to be here? Jiro asked what everyone was thinking. "You'll understand soon." Aizawa sighed. "You can come in now." Footsteps could be heard right before 3 people appeared. They all had a matching dark blue uniform with only slight difference. The one with black hairs looked bored while the only girl looked angry. "Huh, these idiots get to live at UA. Don't see why. They look completely useless," Bakugo commented. "And wait, one guy had pink hair." Midoriya screamed. "You're that pink-haired guy who killed a monster? Please tell me I'm correct. I looked at that video so many times, it must be right." Mumbling could be heard from the class in agreement after his statement. "Me," he said, pointing at himself. "Yes, you're the only one with pink hair." "Oh, then I guess that was me. But I still don't see why what I did was so special." He looked completely dumbfounded. "I want to know what that hot girl's name is," Minta said while drooling. The girl looked absolutely furious, and before anyone could intervene, she had kicked Minta to the other side of the room. "What are you saying, you fucking pervert? If you even try to come near me, I will not hesitate to kick you again," she said while looking towards him. Midoriya felt a little mad for Minta even though he deserved it. The black-haired boy walked towards her and put a hand on her shoulder. "Fujisaki, I know you're mad, but you should not kick him in front of everyone," he said. Midoriya thought it was nice that he did not agree on the girl's actions. "If you're going to kick him, do it when no one is looking, and a lot harder, okay?" Midoriya takes back his earlier thoughts. "These 3 are all people who can kill those monsters, and I hope you will treat them well during their stay," Aizawa said. "All 3 of them can kill those monsters." "I don't believe it. One literally looks like a sea urchin." Bakugo was letting out small explosions from his hands. "Shut up. It's not like you can even hurt them, so maybe you should learn before saying anything." "But oh, that's right, you can't," the black-haired boy snapped back. "Can you just introduce yourself so I can show you your rooms before you start to fight with my class?" "Of course, I'm Yuji Itadori. Nice to meet you all." He smiled at them while pulling the other 2 towards himself to put his arms around them. "Nobara Fujisaki," she rolled her eyes at them. "Fushiguro," the boy said shortly before dragging his friend toward the elevator. Aizawa followed them to make sure they knew where to go. No one in the class said anything for a while and just stared. Midoriya's mind was going at an incredible speed, analyzing the 3 people and what their quirks may be. For the rest of the night, the newcomers did not come down. Most people of Class 1 were down in the kitchen or living room preparing for class. It was still about an hour left until it started. Bakugo was making breakfast and had put Kirishima on watch duty to make sure no one else came into the kitchen and ruined the food. Midoriya was sitting on the sofa thinking about what the new kids' quirks were. He had barely gotten any sleep as he could not stop thinking. Itadori must have some type of strength quirk considering his muscular body and how he killed that monster. Maybe something to do with fire, considered his fist was burning blue flames, similar to Todoroki. The other 2 was a lot harder. He had nothing to go off from what their quirks may be, and guessing from barely no information can only get you so far. "Deku, shut the fuck up, I can hear your mumbling all the way from the kitchen." Bakugo screamed while slamming his fist into the counter. "Sorry, it's just really interesting. We barely know anything about them." As Midoriya was explaining himself, the 3 people the conversation was about came down the stairs. All eyes immediately turned to them, and the once loud class became quiet. They all had the same outfit from yesterday. Now in better lighting, Midoriya also saw that they had a matching swirly button in the front of the uniforms. "What are you staring at?" Fujisaki broke the silence and crossed her arms over her chest. "Ugh. Do you have any food? We got no information yesterday about what we were supposed to do here, and starving is not something we like to do. Bakugo is preparing breakfast, and I think he would gladly make food for you." Ida went up to them while waving his arms around. "Who said I would make food for some random people of the street? No thanks. I don't think the ticking time bomb makes good food. I'd rather make my own." Fushiguro answers in a cold tone and rolled his eyes. "Huh? Are you implying I can't cook? I will tell you I'm the best chef in this entire class." "I don't care. Tell us where we can get something and we will be out of your hair in no time." As Midoriya was watching, he could no longer stay quiet. Can I ask you something before you leave? What type of quirks do you guys have?" He could feel their intense stares at him. "Oh, we don't. Oh, Fushiguro. Itadori gave him a sheepish look, mouthing a sorry towards him. They don't need to know that. Fushiguro passed his friend and went towards the kitchen. Hey, you can't hit him, he's your friend and it's not nice. Uraraka interrupted. It's fine. Ooh, whatever your name is. I've been through worse, it's really nothing. Itadori tried to calm her down. Uraraka gave look taken aback by his comment before remembering something. Oh, I forgot we never gave you our names yesterday. Hey everyone, we should introduce ourselves. She started to gather everyone around the guests. Okay, I'll start. I'm Ochoko Uraraka. She smiled at them. Hey, I'm Denki Kaminari. Kaminari said as he jumped forward and struck a pose meant to look cool but instead ended up looking quite silly. Hijiro Kirishima, nice to meet you, he said as he stuck his head out of the kitchen with an angry Bakugo. The guy here is my Baku bro, also known as Katsuki Bakugo. Boy, I can introduce myself. Weird hair, he screamed after trying to hit Kirishima, and also I told you to stop calling me that. Small explosions came out of his hands. Hi to you too, Baku bro, said Itadori, which made everyone around them laugh. I'm Tenya Ida, class president of 1A, so if you need any help just ask me. I'm Asui Tsuyu, but you can call me Tsu, Kiro. Hello, I'm Mina Ashido. We met in the mall. She smiled and waved her hand. After that, everyone in class 1A went around and introduced themselves. Some added other bits of information about them. Thank you for that, but I'm really starting to get hungry, so could you once again please tell us where there is food? Itadori scratched the back of his neck. The newcomers were all surrounded. Oh, I'm so sorry for distracting you. Please follow me. I can show you where it is. Uraraka started making way for them towards the kitchen. Midoriya was once again back to thinking. He got no more information about the three other than the fact that they did not want to know their quirks. But why? Maybe their quirks were dangerous and they did not want to scare anyone. But on the other hand, none of them seemed as the type to care about how people viewed them in that regard. With a heavy sigh, he stood up and went to eat his own breakfast. His other classmates did the same. Fushiguro, Kijisaki, and Itadori tried to go up to their rooms but was ushered to a table where they sat and whispered to each other. Chatter filled the room as everyone ate, so no one noticed when Aizawa walked into the room. Can any of you ask your homeless-looking teacher to stop staring? Kijisaki said in frustration. I can't concentrate on eating when someone is just watching me. One spun around in their chairs to look at Aizawa. No one else had noticed him. Yes, I came to tell Itadori, Fushiguro, and Kijisaki to please come to the principal's office. He wants to speak to you. Can't you see we are busy? Kijisaki pointed at her half-eaten breakfast. You're almost done, so you can eat it while we walk there. Aizawa pinched his nose bridge. Fushiguro stood up and pulled Itadori and Kijisaki with him. Midoriya watched them. He would have to ask all his questions later when he saw them next. He also wondered what the principal wanted to say, but it was not that weird considering they were at his school. To say Fushiguro was annoyed was an understatement. Itadori and Kijisaki had only been stuck at the stupid hero school for a few hours, but he wanted to go home. Even spending an evening listening to Gojo rambling about different sweets was better than this. As they walked towards the main building of the school, he got a weird feeling. Like there was something dangerous lurking in the shadows. It might be a curse, but the students must have seen it. Powerful curses were not hard to spot even for non-sorcerers. It was hard to guess without properly searching. He could see some student walking towards the entrance even in the early morning, but they paid them no minds when they passed. The inside of the school was as hideous as the outside. Did the person in charge of making this building have no sense of style? Kijisaki must be furious over how it looks. Like the door are gigantic, 3 times as tall as him. After walking up another flight of stairs, the homeless-looking man stopped in front of another gigantic door. This one with a sign saying Principal's Office. Inside the room was a black leather sofa and red table. A dark wooden desk stood in form of the big windows covering the whole wall, giving a great view of the school grounds. Papers were haphazard spread out on the desk. And a mouse. Why is there a class pet in a suit sitting at the desk? Kijisaki stared at the animal with a mix of disbelief and disgust. It let out a small chuckle at her comment. I can assure you that I'm not a pet, he said, signaling for them to sit. They sofas were comfortable, probably quite expensive. But not that weird for a hero school that had enormous amounts of money. That lurking feeling from earlier had disappeared. As he sat there pondering over what it might have been, the mouse pulled something out of the drawer and gave it to the teacher and whispered something in his ear. With a sigh, the man then left. So thank you for taking the time to meet me. I'm Nezu. He gave them a smile. Fushiguro heard Kijisaki mutter that they didn't really have a choice but stayed quiet afterwards. So my fifth question is, what are those monsters? I heard you called them curses before. It question. What they are or what they are not, you have no reason of knowing. Fushiguro stared at him in hope that the mouse gave up. Oh, but I think I do. This has become a global problem, specifically in Japan, and the heroes could use any help they get to take these curses down. He gave them a knowing smile. Could you tell us something about them? The only thing you need to know is that you can't kill them and to let the people who can be left alone. You are making things a lot more difficult for everyone. He tried to make his voice sound steady as he spoke. Damn that rat for looking so creepy and making him uncomfortable. The rat paused for a second before talking again. Okay. But I want you to kill those things before you leave the school. Until then I can let you take some classes here. Wouldn't want you to miss out on school. He looked really smug. How could an animal even make so many expressions but also none at all? The rat also seemed to have something on his mind that he did not say. No, we never agreed to any of this. Kyujisaki burst out, slamming her hand on the table. Kyujisaki, no need to get upset. I'm sure we can come to a better solution. Itadori tried to calm her down. Don't forget you are here because your guardian didn't respond to any calls. So technically you don't have much of a choice, okay? Fushiguro was really starting to dislike this rat. Maybe he could ask Gojo to come kill it after he got out. In an attempt to make the rat let them go, Fushiguro managed to make both Itadori and Kyujisaki sit there quietly with him and not answer any questions. He did so by pinching them every time they tried to speak. If the thing could just give up already. It had been 20 minutes without progress for him. What are your power if it is not? A knock on the door made the rat stop his questions as the man from earlier came into the room. I guess we didn't get anywhere today, but I hope you come back tomorrow. For now you can follow Aizawa and join his class. All three of them scurried out of their room, not standing being in there with a talking rat, and tried to walk away before quickly realizing they did not know where to go. The problem solved itself as Hobo Man walked out. They walked with him once again as they passed multiple doors. No student were wandering around. Class had most likely started. Hobo Man now stopped in form of a door labeled Class 1A. He opens the door, letting them walk in first. So Fushiguro, Itadori and Kyujisaki will be joining you in class. Help them get situated. I'll be going to sleep, he said, and then zipped himself up of a yellow sleeping bag that magically appeared. The class stared at them for a few seconds before they all started talking at the same time. Somehow they ended up in the 3 extra seats in the back with a crowd of people around them. Now Fushiguro was really starting to miss Gojo's lessons because this sucked. Could no one stop asking them questions for just a moment? Did they not hear the no that answered them every time? Gojo was resting his feet on his desk in his office, snacking on some candy he had bought that morning. Nothing too fancy. He had just gone to a shop somewhere in Belgium. After hearing they had good chocolate, he was thinking about all the ways he could annoy Nanami. Maybe a surprise visit and some drinks at a bar. He probably needed a break from work. Biting down on another piece of chocolate, he thought of more people to grace his presence with. Yaga always had fun reactions. He could call Megumi and rant about his favorite sweets. He seemed to really enjoy it when Gojo did that. He reacted for his phone and checked the time. Still only 3 p.m. Groaning as he tipped his chair, he spotted 3 people coming towards his office with his 6 eyes. He sat up straight as the door opened. Maki, Inumaki, and Panda walked in. Gojo, have you seen the first years? They were supposed to meet us for training, Maki asked. The question surprised him. Were they not home yet? The mission should have ended 2 days ago. If it were the higher-ups meddling again, he would really go and kill them. Have you heard something from them? No, we are asking you because we don't know, Maki snapped back. Okay, no need to worry. You 3 go and do your thing and I handle this. He stood up and led to them out of his office, not letting them speak. Going back, and he sat down in his chair with a big sigh. He really needed to catch a break after finding his student. The information about the mission talked about a 2nd grade cure in the city of Musutafu. It's nothing his student shouldn't have been able to handle. Thinking back on what happens the past few days, he suddenly remembered the call he got. It was from a pro hero, but he hung up on them. He didn't have time for random heroes. Was he calling to tell him about his kids? Fuck, why did he hang up on an actually important call? He looked through his call history but did not manage to find the number. What had the kids even done to end up in the hands of a pro hero? Gojo thought back to the video of Yuji circling around on the internet. Somebody probably recognized him. What did the hero say his name was? Arrowhead. Roadhead. No, not that. Eraserhead. Yes, that is probably it. After putting the name into the search bar of his computer, nothing came up. That meant it was probably an underground hero, which made his job a lot harder. Letting out a quiet groan, he tried looking for any piece of evidence pointing to where his kid could be. After a few hours without finding much, he decided to take a break. It only lasted 10 minutes or so. One was allowed to mess with his kids and definitely not some random pro hero. He would find them no matter what it took. Kyujisaki was tired of just sitting there. After the homeless-looking man who desperately needed a shower led them to the classroom, they had nothing to do. The class had asked them question after question. Like what curses are, what is their quirk, where do you go to school? All boring questions. Kyujisaki had managed to stay quiet, not wanting to be pinched again. Even Itadori succeeded after an almost slip-up where Fushiguro had needed to throw a book at him. Now a different class had begun and the student had to go back to their seats. Kyujisaki and the other 2 being new had no book to write in. So they just sat there. The teacher now standing in front of them was the same that picked them up from the police station. If Kyujisaki thought he was a fashion disaster before, the new hairstyle he was wearing now made it 10 times worse. Like, why try getting your hair to defy gravity by wearing it straight up? With a sigh, she went back to thinking about all the stuff she could buy if she got Gojo card. She could ask him for it, but trying to steal it sounded more fun. Maybe she could get Maki in on the idea. She probably had stuff she needed to buy. Hey, new kids, can you answer a question for me? It's written on the board. The teacher turned around, giving them gun finger like passing them a question. No, don't feel like it. We have already worked on this at our school and it was actually true. Gojo had managed to teach them something in his time as their teacher. Then you should have no problem answering the question, he shot back at her. Meh, don't feel like it. Ask someone who might actually learn something from it, she answered, rolling her eyes at him as she put her feet on the desk. The Ida kid started talking to her about how it was rude to not answer the teacher and to take her feet off the desk. So she ended up giving him the finger and he let out an audible gasp in response. Broccoli kid came forward and stopped the first one from going on another rant. After that, the teacher left her alone. I bet the extra just don't know the answer, Explosions screamed out. I bet you're too dumb to know the answer because your brains have been blown out from all your explosions. She gave him the middle finger and started zoning out his insults. She was brought out of her thoughts as everyone started to leave the classroom with numbered suitcases. She looked at Fushiguro and Itadori to see if they had any idea on what was happening. They both shook their heads. Broccoli, seeing their confusion, came forward. If you're wondering, we have hero training now. That's why everyone is leaving. I think you should come to. She felt a little happy about this. Maybe she could get to kick some heroes' asses without getting in trouble. She stood up and followed the class to the changing rooms where the girls and guys split. She stood awkwardly close to the door as she didn't need to change clothes. Standing there, a creeping feeling of being watched came. None of the girls were looking at her, and when she turned around, a purple shadow could be seen from the crack of the door. So she quickly turned around and kicked the door open, and the purple being was thrown into the wall. With a grin, she turned around and faced the other girls. What was that? Floaty asked. Just a little monster, you could say, she said innocently. If the girls heard the pain groan from outside, they decided not to comment on it. She then got bored by just standing there and went out to wait on Fushiguro and Itadori. Some of the guys came out quite quick and started talking in their respective groups. But Itadori and Fushiguro took long before they came out. Why, she didn't know, because they don't need to change. She understood why when a group of guys came out surrounding them. Question for you this time. What do you usually do on these lessons? Itadori asked as they group keep moving away from her. Well, that depends. Sometimes it's rescue training, and other times sparring or a simulation where we need to save someone, Broccoli said as he started explaining what his class had done in the past. When he was busy, Fushiguro and Itadori took the time to slink away to her. Man, it was really hard avoiding their questions. You're really lucky, Kujisaki, Itadori exclaimed. She only nodded in response. Honestly, I think they spent more time asking us things than changing, Fushiguro added as they followed the class to where the lesson would be held. Their conversation was interrupted when a booming voice came in screaming, I am here. The man who had spoken was tall and had lots of muscle, and he was also All Might, the #1 hero. Yuck. He turned around to face them. Hi, young ones, it's a pleasure to meet you. I assume you're the kids Aizawa found. OMG, I just realized you're meeting All Might for the first time. Isn't it really cool? Kirishima came up behind them. She gave him a disgusted look. Honestly, I'd rather live my whole life not meeting him. You know, he feels kind of dumb, she answered while glaring at All Might. All Might looked dumbstruck, and the rest of the class had their mouths hanging wide open. What do you mean? All Might questioned in an attempt to not believe what he just heard. No, you heard me the first time. None of us like you or other heroes for that matter. She gave him a hard stare, and all of the people around them became even more flabbergasted. You don't like heroes? Broccoli exclaimed in shock. Tell me, why would I like guys parading around town in spandex only helping people for popularity? And not all heroes are like that, and definitely not All Might, he stuttered out. Whispers were heard around them, but she ignored them. Oh, are the people who can kill monsters jealous of the heroes? The angry Pomeranian was once again speaking. Now please listen up, kids. All Might tried to get everyone's attention to stop a fight from breaking out and get their minds on other things. Today we are going to do some sparring, he explained. Ah, you expect those extras to be able to keep up with the hero class? Explosions said, pointing at her and her friend. And oh, this made her mad. Up until this point she had been able to stand their stares, but if that kid thought she was powerless, now that where she draws the line, she was a lot more powerful than them. She walked towards Explosions, balling her hand into fists. So in the heat of the moment she didn't think about what she was saying. You really think I can't beat you? Well, you're wrong. I might be quirkless, but I'm not weak. You want me to show you how strong I really am? Why not fight? She spit out, glaring at him. How quirkless? You three are quirkless, he screamed at her. She only gave him a sly smile in return while retreating to her friend, giving no more answers, realizing she had said too much. Still, she enjoyed seeing him fuming like that, so all wasn't too bad. Fushiguro slowly shook his head and gave her a disappointed look. The other kids started whispering again. She heard someone say they didn't believe her, while others thought she was weak if she was quirkless. Here, I thought I would reveal something first, Itadori told her. You know what? Fine, I'll fight you. I'll show you how much better than you I am, he screamed at her, his fists making big explosions. Okay then come at me, she screamed back. She put a hand on her hammer but ultimately decided against using it and left it in her belt. Boom! Guy started flying through the air with his explosions. The class started yelling at Bakugo to stop and not attack the quirkless girl, but he continued. Kyujisaki smiled as she stood in a fighting stance, curling her hand into fists. Bakugo started letting himself fall down when he got close and pointed his palms towards Kyujisaki. But she swiftly jumped out of the way, only feeling slight trickle of heat on her back. Out of the corner of her eyes, she also spotted Itadori jumping up and down, telling her to kick Bakugo's ass. Bakugo ran after her and grabbed her arm and made her fall on her back. He then tried to pin her arms over her head, but she kicked him in the stomach and he fell a few feet away from her. Kyujisaki rolled to the side to get away from him with minor success as he threw himself over her, putting all his weight into keeping her on the ground. She grabbed her a handful of rock and sand to throw them at him. The sand made him falter for a second, giving Kyujisaki a chance to get away and up on her feet. Bakugo let out an angry scream as he let explosions pop up around him. She gave him a sly grin in return. Kyujisaki was surprised All Might had yet to break of the fight. That other teacher would probably have done it before the fight even started. But she guessed All Might is like all the other stupid heroes who do nothing all day. Bakugo came tumbling towards her, but she ran to the right while bending down to pick up a few bigger rocks the size of ping-pong balls. She kept running around with Bakugo right behind her, making abrupt stops once in a while, making small dust clouds and quickly evading Bakugo. The cheering also got louder, and almost the whole class was now on her side only because she was quirkless. After a while she had enough running and her plan was ready to enter the final stage. She had purposely made sure to get as much sand in the air so no one could see properly. She swung her hand up in the air before throwing the rocks she picked up earlier. With the sand, the curse's energy she infused the rocks with was hidden from view. Bakugo was thrown off his feet when the rocks hit. He wasn't able to dodge in time as the rocks only became visible shortly before hitting him. He pushed himself off the ground with blood dripping from his nose. "I'll see come G get you," he slurred on his words. He probably wasn't doing too well after being hit hard in the head. Still, Kyujisaki ran up to him and held his arms behind his back. He tried to blow her up with explosion, but even when she felt her hand burn, she didn't let go. Ani, now did All Might come to a Nervian, walking forward and separating her from Bakugo. "Now, young Bakugo, we need to get you to the infirmary." All Might lifted up Bakugo and started walking away while he was screaming and kicking, saying he was going to kill her. "Good job, Kyujisaki," Itadori said as she came towards them. "Your tactic was really good. Yeah, all that training with the second years paid off in the end." "Okay, Kyujisaki, can you tell me all about how you did that?" Broccoli came up to her. He was shaking, but she couldn't decide if it was because he was nervous or excited. "Did what? Beat his ass? Then I'll tell you it's easy. But you don't have a quirk. Are you implying that I am weak without a quirk?" "No, of course not. It's just so amazing how you beat Kaken without a quirk," he explained quickly, seemingly embarrassed that he offended her for a second. "Hey Kyujisaki, that was really cool," Ashido said, smiling at her. "Yes, I agree with Mina. That was really manly of you," Kirishima said. The class mumbled in agreement. And wow, now the questions had started again. When would it end? "What have you done now?" a tired voice said that stopped all the conversations. A crusty-looking man came into view. "Why did I just get the news that Bakugo was taken to the infirmary after a fight?" "Well, Bakugo was being Bakugo like usual," Kaminari said while looking around nervously. "He was being a whiny bitch about how he could beat me, so I put him in his place." Kyujisaki gave him a hard stare. "Oh, so it was the new problem kids creating more problems. What did I expect?" He pinched his nose bridge. "Okay everyone, we will continue the lesson, so get into pairs. You two spar amongst yourself." He pointed at them. "You two can start sparring. I'm tired." She turned around and sat down on a nearby bench. She had not gone all out today, but running that much was still exhausting. She watched as Fushiguro and Itadori readied their stances before charging at one another. She found it boring and started watching the other people. "Kyujisaki, you need to go to the infirmary too. Your hands don't look that good." She looked down on her hand and saw blisters starting to form from the heat of Bakugo's explosion. She sighed as she started walking the same way All Might did before. "When could Gojo come get them away from here?"